What up guys, SuperMetal983 here bringing us another album review, and I've got a really sick progressive release for you to check out, and I'm going to be reviewing the new Shokran album entitled Ethereal. This is a self-released album. Now, if you aren't too familiar with Shokran, they are an international-based progressive metalcore sort of band, and they've been going for quite a few years now, and they have a total of 3 albums under their belt, starting in 2014, I believe it was, with their debut album entitled Supreme Truth, which was my first exposure to the band back in the day. And when I first heard the album, I was really impressed with it. Kind of put me in mind a lot of Born of Osiris sort of vibes. At the time, I wasn't really digging Born of Osiris, so to hear that band at the time, really, I made a strong connection with them, put it that way, because of those influences that they had from the likes of Dream Theater, Periphery, and Born of Osiris on that debut album. It was absolutely fantastic. If you haven't heard it, make sure you do so. And then, fast forward to 2016 with the arrival of their second album entitled Exodus. Now, Exodus was an album that I didn't, in all honesty, pay that much exposure to, and didn't listen to it an awful lot, but every time I listened to it at the time, I was really impressed with it. It was just a massive adaptation of what Supreme Truth was. It was a fantastic album in general. I just didn't listen to it all that much. But obviously it's been 3 years since that album came out, and we are dying for some new Shokran material. And 2019, we get that with the arrival of Ethereal. Now, this album is quite a hyped up album for me. I was really looking forward to hearing what Shokran could create, because I was really impressed with the last album, but I knew something was coming that was going to be very, very special. And quite frankly, it has delivered on all fronts, if you ask me. This is easily one of the most enjoyable albums I have heard in 2019 so far. From the soaring melodies, the great orchestrations, the fantastic musicianship, and the vocals just delivering on all fronts. One of the most wow factor albums that I've heard so far in 2019. 2019 has started off fantastic, and Shokran is leading the charge in the progressive scene, if you ask me, in 2019 so far. I know that's a bit of a long sentence, but yeah, we'll go with it. But yeah, this album's absolutely fantastic. It runs about 40 minutes in length, 41 minutes, 20 seconds to be precise. That's only just because I've got it at the side here. But yeah, this album, from beginning to end, is an absolute musicianship in metal in general. Dream, if you ask me. From the guitar work on this album being absolutely precise, and the melodies just soaring over everything and just filling you with that wow factor. It just takes your breath away, if you ask me. I think this album is one of the most encapsulating albums I have heard in a long time. The attention to detail, from the songwriting to the tones, is just remarkable, if you ask me. Like, it's something to bask in, and something to think, wow, what the hell am I listening to? This is just perfect all-around production and songwriting. What more could you want from that? But yeah, on top of that, you've got not only the great songwriting, the great musicianship going on, but on top of that, the elements of the ambience that are on there, and the symphonic elements are not overbearing like they would be on like a Flesh God Apocalypse or a Carrick Angren sort of album. These are very well endowed in the mix. They don't come overly barren in any points during this album from beginning to end. It just executes when it needs, just to give it that richness and that monolithicness, and it just sounds absolutely massive, if you ask me. I think it just sounds, it just has so much majesty to it that it's something to behold. That's all I can really say. It's just something that you need to behold and just go, wow, that was incredible. That was an absolutely incredible album to listen to, and you will feel that when you get to the end of this record. Obviously, the drum work is absolutely fantastic, played with absolute precision, and there's a lot of groove in there and very attention to detail, progressive playing, out of time stuff, and a lot of intricate parts that really make it very creative and makes it just unique, if you ask me. This is definitely a very unique sort of album to listen to, and if you want something very creative in the drum department, this is definitely an album for you. The guitar work, as I said before, it's very progressive, very technical at points, but it's still groovy and full of richness in those guitar riffs and in the tone itself. It just creates this really the only way you can really describe it is a very rich sort of tone. It's very warm, very but still quite chunky and beefy when some of these minor sort of and elements of breakdowns kick in. There's not really an overbearing sense of breakdowns to be had on this album. When I said earlier it was progressive metalcore, don't expect like genty breakdowns left, right, and centre. There is some like very gently sort of influence in there, but it's not like that percussive over the bearing sort of stereotypical gent thing that you would hear. Like, it's more, the only reference I can really put it is to Periphery, but without taking the like percussive sounds that you would hear on like the self-titled Periphery album, for example. But yeah, strong musicianship on the guitar work, and then one of the most epic moments on this album come from the lead guitars. They literally just, they make your jaw drop to the floor. It's just like, ooh, it just hits that really fine sweet spot in us that even if you're not a guitarist, that element of when a really soaring, beautiful lead tone comes in, and it's just like, ooh. It just soothes the soul in some elements, you know what I mean? If you like music, you know exactly what I'm on about. But yeah, other than that though, the vocals are something to behold as well. I talked about the lead guitar, being a very something you have to bask into, really, and the vocals definitely have that element also. From the aggressive vocals, the more harsher vocals on this, they're not just your low, mid, high, that's it. There's a lot of variation in the vocals from going through those ranges. We're pitching it a lot more, and then the cleans are just so goddamn powerful. I mean, the clean vocals are easily one of the best elements on this, along with the lead guitar tones and riffs on here. But the vocals definitely take it for me, if you ask me. From those sort of elements on there, just creating this really powerful, majestic atmosphere, and it just sounds so huge when the cleans come in. They just sound so good. I mean, you just need to hear it. This is easily one of the best performance albums that I've heard in 2019 and in a long time in general. I mean, and also I might as well add, from the start to finish, you can feel a lot of influence in here. Like, if I was to select bands that I could hear across here, it would definitely be Born of Osiris. I can definitely hear some vibes in there. Dream Theater, Periphery. Periphery is definitely a big one in there, if you ask me. There's even some minor like more sophomore parts that definitely remind me a lot of TesseracT. Now, that definitely adds a little bit more of a feel to it, if you ask me. It definitely has the feels of what TesseracT can pull off. So if that sounds like I'll definitely check this one out. But it's kind of dwelling out of it a little bit towards the end of this album, through the last two tracks, I think it's Face Behind the Stars and Destiny Crucified. It's the last three tracks, the title track as well. You definitely get a bit of, I feel anyway, I definitely hear a lot of Septic Flesh sort of vibes with those symphonics in there. It just creates that little bit more majesty and power behind it, and it just puts a perfect close to this album, if you ask me. And definitely for groove sort of things, I definitely hear a bit of Black Crown Initiate. There's a lot of influence across this album, but it's so well written, so executed with perfection, that you can just hear it all, and it creates a really unique sounding album. This is definitely a unique sounding album, and definitely one of the strongest, I'm going to say this now, it's definitely one of the strongest progressive metal releases I've heard ever. This is up there with the likes of Altered State by TesseracT. That is one of my favourite progressive albums of all time. And this one, I think, definitely joins that market, because this is just something to behold. I mean, I've shown so many people this album, and you just need to hear it yourselves. I'm sure it's up on YouTube in full stream from the band, so I'll link down below, and I'll link some other tracks that they've posted and playthroughs, what have you. Or I'll link down below and links to their Facebooks and all that. But yeah, if you want something truly remarkable and elegant to listen to, then this is definitely an album for you. But it's still a riffer. It still hits hard when it needs to, but it is just mesmerizing to listen to. If you're into progressive metal, metalcore, this is definitely for you. If you're just into progressive stuff in general, definitely give this a shot. For an overall score though, I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. Absolutely fantastic, fantastic album to listen to, and definitely one of the highlights of 2019 so far. And just to put a little word out there, it's kind of like a pre-tease for the next updates and purchases, you could say. I ordered the 3 CD bundle through Chugcore for the Ethereal album, Exodus and Supreme Truth, so I'm looking forward to getting those in, especially Ethereal, because it's guaranteed to make me top albums this come year's end. Guaranteed. Absolutely fantastic album. Make sure you check it out. Shokran with the new album Ethereal, and it's a self-released album. I'll see you until the next video, and remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.